Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juvecast. This is episode 119, and I got my man Eric joining me today. Eric, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Ready to discuss our last match and kind of preview what we got coming.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to be recapping the Champions League group stage match against Ferencvaros. I think I'm saying it right. I don't know. The name's a fucking nightmare. But, yeah, Hungarian side there. And 4-1 victory, which was much needed for many reasons. And we got a lot of the things we needed out of this one. I know it was not the most exciting by any means, but we got what we needed out of it, and we'll break it down the same as we do other matches. It'll probably get a little bit shorter because of, the lack of events, let's say, and most of that's due to the opposition as well, but we'll talk about it. There's a really dull moment around Juve. We've got another injury, and we got some guys returning after the next break, so we'll talk about it all, but let's kick it off with the lineups for this one. We had Tech, Quadrado, Bonucci, Chiellini, Danilo, and Chiesa. Ramsey, Arthur and Rabiot, and Ronaldo and Morata. Anything you didn't expect out of that lineup? The funny thing is, they showed this on the graphics as a 4-3-3, and I laughed because I was like, there ain't no way in hell. You just knew it wasn't going to be 4-3-3. You know, it probably changed offensively, but I expected the same, that 3-4-1-2. I thought the prior match we saw how important that those three midfielders being a little more flat was to our stability. But it looked like they kind of tried to do that defensively, but Ramsey was ultimately still playing in that hole or whatnot, which for this one I think was okay due to the opponent. But we still saw some things we could work on. But I was okay with the lineup. Morata cannot be denied. We need the win. We just suffered defeat to Barcelona. Morata can't be denied. Arthur, we'll talk about Arthur in this one, but I was fine with it. Rabiot, same thing. I think he's in there. At defense, we don't have a lot of options, so I was okay with it. Chiesa in there, yeah, I had no issues with the lineup. Your thoughts on the lineup there, Eric?
I didn't. I do think that it's difficult to kind of read in terms of, at least we know the personnel, but depending on who you follow and who you read from, there's probably 2 or 3 different formation options that they put out there. So sometimes it can be a little difficult to kind of get an idea of what we're going to run and who's going to run what position. So when I saw the lineup, I kind of thought that they potentially do a 4-3-3, as funny as that sounds, just based on the personnel. I like having that third midfield option, so I thought maybe if it wasn't the 4-3-3, possibly the 3-5-2 again.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit on Twitter there, and I'm fine if he goes that route. I think he should. And even if he stays in this 3-5-2 setup as he wants, I still think it helps just laying those three midfielders flat. Yeah. I think it should almost be like a natural fluid movement when one decides to press and support the forwards. I think setting it to one specific midfielder out of those three throws that defensive transition for a bit of a loop based on his position. It's awkward because you've seen it. You've seen sometimes, like, and I saw it in this one, the amount of space that they try to get Ramsey sometimes to cover to get over to the right defensively makes no sense to me. Make it a natural shift. It's a little awkward, but yeah, ultimately the lineup, it was okay. We'll see. Things could still change, but Pirlo seems to be pretty set with this set system and making it shift to his defensive mold and then keeping the offense separate. But we'll get to the match, first half highlights, and man, it did not take long. 7 minutes in, and Morata is Johnny on the spot like he has been. He's been money. I was a bit surprised that cross made it across all the traffic, but it did, right to his foot, and he taps her home. It wouldn't be a Morata goal without a little bit of a delay checking for offside somewhere, even though they were checking Quadrado or not. But yeah, this one sticks. He keeps it going red hot. Great start. We could probably finish this one early and cruise, right? Well, not so much. We really just took the foot off and kind of cruised, but we were still getting some opportunities. Chiesa was making some nice runs. He was working it in to Ronaldo in about the 24th, and they work a give and go, and Chiesa's shot actually gets blocked, and then Cuadrado has a nice opportunity running up on the rebound, and that ball might still be waiting to land. Skies it, but we keep on. 25th minute though, and Ferencvaros actually missed a great opportunity, and I was starting to get a little alarmed again. Got off to the right start, great start, and this 25th minute chance was frustrating because this guy had so much space, time and space in our area, and this is happening a little too frequently. It's odd because if you're going to play with three center backs essentially, and you're going to bring those wing backs back, I can't for the life of me understand why the first attacking wave isn't picked up by defenders. And you'll see that our mids are coming back, but for God's sakes, they shouldn't be. We have enough numbers, and it's just like we drop back in this flat line, and we just sit there, and the opposition just finds that space between our mids and our center backs. And if you can actually turn in the area, that's a problem. And it's one that keeps persisting, and I just can't figure out why we can't just man up and take that space away and just be on these guys. It's really, really strange and awkward to watch too, because you've got Chiellini who's occupying a man on this opportunity, and then you've got Bonucci 2 feet behind him, and you've got Danilo like 2 feet away as well, and they're just not on anybody. And it can't happen. That's got to be better, that defensive phase. And I'm not really sure why. That's the biggest thing. I don't know if it's a communication thing or what the case is, but it's a little concerning that we've seen it. You can almost notice that every single match.
Right.
And I can't figure out, like, it's got to be sorted out, but I'm not really sure where the issue lies. And I've asked this question before on the last one. I just said, when De Ligt comes back, does all this get settled? I see a little bit of a system issue myself. And, like, what do you think, Eric?
I would opt to believe you on that, because to me, De Ligt is going to be great in our defense getting a little bit of confidence, because he's going to be our attacking player, so he's going to stop the attack, and then you have someone to kind of come behind him and clean him up. But in terms of just how systematically it's working or it's not working, what I'm noticing, just how I view the game, is when we transition, it's odd that we're using a back three for attack, but we're using a back two in a 4-4-2 in defense, and it's almost as if we're trying to get players behind the ball in the defense, but what's happening is they're getting so stretched out that we're getting behind our midfields, and then you have Chiellini and Bonucci that just have acres of space in between. So it's the transition period between going from a back three in the offensive phase to a 4-4-2 in the defensive phase. And the problem that I'm having, or what I'm noticing also, is in that offensive phase that we have that back three, I've seen a transition to where I've made an argument that instead of doing the 3-4-1-2, we do a 3-1-4-2, so that you have that pivot a little bit closer to the back to kind of aid in for the defensive phase. But what's happening is the other two mids and then our forwards are getting so far forward that even having three midfielders turns into only having two midfielders, and then we're in that 4-2-4 stage. And I think that's where we're getting caught, because the other two midfielders, once you get behind them, we're so spread out that you have the two center backs. So it is a system thing. I think there's a lack of communication. I would agree with that, but it just seems like the transition from our attacking phase with the three center backs doesn't make sense when you go into a two center back system for the defensive phase.
Yeah. And let me ask you something. Who do you see as that one ahead of your CBs?
I have been arguing against this, but to me, it has to be Artur. So I like his creativity. I think he's our most creative midfielder. No, disrespect to Rambo, but on the ball, I think he's the most creative midfielder. So of course, naturally, I'm going to think, okay, put him closer to goal so he can create more chances. But he seems so comfortable on the ball in his ability to start the attack, where we are kind of lacking because in Pirlo's system, your center back kind of has to start the attack in that formation.
Yeah.
He's getting that done in that and the regista role that we were supposed to scrap. So him being in front of our defense, I think, has allowed some of our creativity to advance towards the goal.
Yeah. I mean, it's if I'm looking at it how you want to lay out, I guess I would, that position would also, what your thought filling to help TBs defensively, right? And just pick up an extra man quicker rather than, and just keep that natural shape moving forward in attack, just to make it a little less awkward. I don't know if Arthur would be.
I think like originally I thought in that formation, a guy like Rabiot would be great for it because he's got the characteristics of a defensive center mid. Yeah. Or I think what has been proven thus far as of today that our best ball getter has been McKennie. I would almost put McKennie in that position because he's so active and he will attack you whether it's offensively or defensively. Yeah. He can win the ball back. So it's kind of odd that I would choose Arthur.
I've also liked actually McKennie lately getting up forward in small. Like he's got that drive up there. He's looking to pass. He's looking for our finishers. McKennie that was a good deal. That was just a good deal to bring him in. I like what I've seen from him. But yeah, no, that's awesome, man. We're in agreement that there are issues at the back that we need to tend to. And I mean, if we're being completely honest, I felt, especially after that goal, real quick, we just surrendered way too much play to this team. Yeah. Ferencvaros, and especially in the second half, which we'll get to, man, that's one of the worst sides I've probably ever seen Juve play against. If we're being completely honest, and I just felt we gave up quite a bit. As we move on here, 35th minute, Morata free and clear, tries to slip her through to CR, and man, I'm thinking just bag that, just finish it.
You gotta just take that.
Yeah, 100%. The guy's red hot. I know he's trying to get her over to Ronaldo and just finish that. And it's funny because we'll see the flip side a little bit later in highlights there. And then 45th minute, and Quad makes a nice defensive play. He gives up a free kick just outside our area, but Cuadrado had the same play not called in his favor in the opponent's area. And it was just one that I happened to catch because the announcers, he just blatantly says that's a foul on Cuadrado, no question. But the same thing, arguably a little bit worse, in the area for Ferencvaros, and he's just oh no, Cuadrado's got to be stronger. And I'm just thinking, man, sometimes these commentators, it just blow me away. And then you wonder why we see refs like that, the consistency amongst people in this game sometimes is just crazy. But we end the half. It's 1-0. And for me, just pretty flat after that goal. And again, I just was left feeling let's put these guys away. Just giving up too much. Let's put these guys away. We got the big match against Lazio coming up. Let's get some of these guys we want to use off the pitch, but we got to kill it off. But yeah, I mean, I saw some good things. Morata red hot. Ronaldo looked decent. He looked okay. But yeah, against this side, I would have expected this thing, honestly, if I'm being honest, sealed at half. How are you left feeling? And again, we talked about those defensive issues. That was another thing on the back of my mind is we got to clean it up. We got to be crisp. We got to be sharp. I want them coming out at half and putting this thing away early. What were you feeling at halftime?
I thought that at no point were we not in control of the match. What bothers me is exactly that, is the moment we scored, I'd say for about 10 to 15 minutes, you kind of saw I don't even know how to pronounce the name. You saw the opposing team, the really bad team in green, starting to build confidence in their play. They started to move the ball a little bit, and that's where I started to get frustrated, because it's like, if this is a good team that we're playing, you can't let that happen. So why are we letting it happen with a bad team? So
Yeah.
if you're going to you attack 90 plus minutes, that's all there is to it. So I got a little frustrated.
Yep.
Those are the things that we need to clean up along with the defensive phase. So to me, had they scored because of poor transitioning, I still wouldn't have been worried, because I always felt that we were in control. It's just small things that we have to clean up. So
Yeah.
I felt pretty confident in the first half. I was just aggravated with our mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way to put it. And it's just, yeah, I mean, these are the games where you have to clean up those errors and those trends, those bad habits, because, again, looking to the tough matchups, the tough teams, and you don't want that creeping up. So to see it in the first half, both mentally with the let up and just the confusion in that transition from one phase to the next, yeah, it's a little frustrating. But again, happy to have the lead, but you just want them to end it and kill it. So we start the second half, and Bentancur is in for Arthur. Now, I didn't actually see anything on an injury front, and I was kind of thinking about this one, and I want to ask you, because this has kind of been something that's mixed amongst Juventini, is Arthur in general and his performance. And I've come on the show and said I'm looking for a bit more out of him. There's no questioning the guy in possession. He's unbelievable with possession. But sometimes, yeah, I'm just left wanting a little more, maybe just a little more advancement, or looking for those through balls a little bit more. And sometimes, honestly, just releasing it quicker, even if he is going to go laterally, like just let's do it quicker, up the tempo. Because he does seem to be the guy that I think Pirlo's going to lean towards being that QB. And if he's going to be that QB for us, I want that tempo. He's going to be the one controlling the tempo. And that's all I'm kind of left thinking with him. But I saw a pretty rough score on him in the first half of this one. And I've been one to criticize him and just some of these things I want out of him. But I didn't feel that way. I thought he was okay. But the team we're playing against, again, it's hard to really measure our guys against this side, but I thought he was okay. But overall from him, I want a little bit more, but I want to get your thoughts. I was also thinking maybe Pirlo just wants to switch it up because he's going to go with Arthur for sure against Lazio, and maybe he did feel something, so that was also on the back of my mind. But I want to get your thoughts on how you thought Arthur played in the first half, and do you think this was a sub looking ahead to Lazio? Just get your thoughts on it, Eric.
Well, rumor has it they were afraid that he was going to shit himself on the field, so they had to get him off the pitch because he wasn't feeling well. So
there you go.
That's what the issue was. But in general, I'll kind of respond to that question. So one of the issues that I have, and unfortunately he bears the responsibility of it, is that in our system and how we have to attack, one of the things that aggravates me to no end is that when we receive pressure, we are passing through those attacking lines to relieve where the pressure is coming from, which is what you're supposed to do. The problem is that in most cases, we've been sending the ball right back where the player is under pressure. So it's like we pass the ball without even realizing it, and then they'll send it right back. No. It's a numbers game now. You just got past the pressure. Now you can continue to build. The thing with Arthur is that if he's playing and a team's kind of sitting back, his outlet is going to be only as good as who's moving off the ball, who's creating for him to give him those pass lanes, because he's not going to send balls over the top. That's what Bonucci's going to do. So he's trying to find the attacking lanes to pass in between to relieve the pressure. And I think he's starting to get a good footing on that. I think him coming back to get on the ball, make himself feel present in the match, implement his style, get people to come attack him so that he can send the ball to whatever teammate he has that can relieve that pressure. I think he's slowly learning that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Pirlo thinks highly of him. You can tell the words he says, but he's also admitted that, he still needs to work on some things and needs to grow and whatnot. But I think you could tell this is where it's headed for that midfield.
Right. And I did see after the match, Pirlo made a comment that, I'd like to see him play a little bit further forward. But that to me is very subjective to what's the team giving you. If the team is allowing you to kind of come back to get on the ball to create, then you kind of have to do that. And to me, don't make a comment about Arthur playing more forward when I think your first comment needs to be, hey, I need other players to stay in their fucking position before I start telling him to go play forward. They have to give him an outlet.
Yeah, and this is some and I don't know if it's just like we give the guys a little bit too much freedom. And this is something that dates back to Sarri, that dates back to even Allegri in the final third of the pitch. And I think, man, I think it just, when I look at these teams, some of these other teams where we really enjoy watching them play, I see like a structure and watching where each guy's going to be at all time. Like you just know, okay, this is what's going to happen. Like this is how they're going to do it. It hasn't been like that with Juve for a while. Like we don't even know like a main go-to of how we're going to create goals. Like it's just like everything is just so different, right? All the time, match to match.
It seems very improvised and not structured.
Yeah. And I always ask myself, I just wonder, like, if we just, gave them a little bit shorter of a leash and said, hey, this is what I need. Like, this is what you do. This is what you do. And I get it. And I think, and I'm not putting this on Pirlo because, again, we saw it with Sarri and we saw it with Allegri. And sometimes maybe it's the players' egos too. And maybe it's tough to just say, hey, you know what? This is what I need you to do, because you feel like you're being better to your players by saying, hey, I trust you. Like, I'm going to give you guys freedom in the final third or whatnot. But you got to ask the question if that's the best route, because when you start seeing some awkwardness, like obviously when Dybala and Ramsey this particular season, and Paulo's, he needs to get back into rhythm and things, but there's some awkwardness there, and they're like, you got two guys trying to do the same thing, and it just ends up being a fucking mess. So Pirlo might find himself either trying to create a little bit more of a set structure with the guys, or he's going to have completely different a set of guys and just can't put certain guys at the same pitch at the same time. He's going to have one or the other. Something's going to have to give, because, you just can't have stuff like that, because it just really, really bogs down the attack big time. And just awkwardness. Like you've got, Dybala occupying midfielders and winger space. When Kulishevsky and Dybala were out there, it was awkward. Like him, Cuadrado, and Kulishevsky were all in the same spot. Like heat map would have been red hot from all three of them.
Backs. Yeah, we had three right wing backs for the duration of all three of those players being on the field at the same time. It was awful.
And then the frustrating part was at halftime, you didn't see an adjustment from Pirlo. And I got on him on that for that episode. I said, how do you not, make that adjustment or sort that out? Like it raises questions. But yeah, that's a great take on Arthur. We move on, and 51st minute, Ramsey injured. Water is wet. It sucks to see. I like Ramsey as a player. It just, you just can't bank on him. It really, really sucks. And I'm not saying this is why by any means, but again, we talk about the unnecessary amount of energy and sprinting in this transition that happens and stuff. Like, it's just so awkward. And I talked about it even when the way Dybala was playing as of late, and it just getting to this defensive phase. It's just wasted energy. And it's the guys that you don't want spending their energy doing that, trying to get back. And for a guy like Pirlo who talks a lot about how he wants things to be fluid, I just don't understand why when one guy's in one position, he can't just drop straight back and make that defensive thing. Why he's got to go complete opposite side to form this shape. It's a really weird thing to see.
And I thought in the transition between our offense and the defense that actually in this match, Ramsey was playing right wing defensively in the 4-4-2. So he had a lot of field to cover. And
exactly.
And you're talking about a guy who, I use tissue paper that's built stronger than he is, and you're talking about giving him that responsibility makes no sense to me.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and not only just the amount of energy you're having a guy use just to get to a position defensive from offense. To me, it's just a no-brainer to figure out something more efficient, so that the guy has the juice where we need it when he's up supporting our forwards and stuff like that. It's strange to me. McKennie comes in 51st, and then. 56 minute CR7, and it started to become giveaway central from Ferencvaros. And CR7 jumps on this one, has a go just wide. Today, I saw a lot of discussion happen because we saw Morata about at the spot, wide open. But again, I don't know. I was bothered by it because I wanted the team to score the goal, but in terms of Ronaldo, I don't think he saw him at all because Ronaldo was already ahead of Morata. Mm-hmm. And by the time Morata was there, even if I'm playing, I'm thinking shoot all the way from where I am in that position. So unless Morata's screaming bloody murder at the top of his lungs, and even still at that point, if it's me and I'm going to shoot it, Cristiano Ronaldo 150% is going to shoot that fucking ball. So I totally expected it. And it went wide, but I just honestly, I think he gets the ball, he's in that position, and he's already ahead of Morata. I wouldn't expect him to look back. I was expecting a shot all the way, and it is what it is. I think it's shitty for us that he didn't see it because I think it would have been picked out in Morata with his form lately. I think it would have been back of the net. But I didn't see it as that big an issue. And then, Eric, any comments on some of the Juventini going back and forth about, when these guys need to pass and and we had a couple more opportunities we'll talk about later that ended up going in the back of the net. But, just your thoughts on it.
My thoughts, when you have guys like Alvaro Morata and Cristiano Ronaldo and they're that close to goal, as a teammate, fucking shoot the ball. I'm not looking for an outlet. This is arguably the greatest player of all time. In front of the net, shoot the ball. So and the reason I believe in this is because that's his job, that's his specialty, it's what he does, it's what he's done his entire career. The second issue is that we've had a lot of issues as we are attacking. So guys like Juan Cuadrado, Kulusevski, Rabiot, sometimes Ramsey, even Dybala sometimes. They get to the final third and they take that one extra touch. They try to force that one extra pass. They try to do that one thing just a little too much, and then we walk away with nothing. As a matter of fact, we lose possession. So if you get to that point, I'm not looking for an outlet. I'm just be selfish sometimes. It's okay to be selfish. Take the shot. If you score, fantastic. If you don't, I can respect it because the objective is to score.
Yeah. And say Ronaldo fucks up that pass, we'd be saying it the opposite and saying, why didn't you shoot the damn thing? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's just a double-edged sword there. And honestly, whenever I'm playing, if I took that shot like Ronaldo and I missed, I would look, and if the guy was there, I would be pissed. I'd feel bad. Might look like I was greedy, but at the same time, I would just trust that he would understand from a player standpoint. Yeah, you got to fire that. It's different. Say it was Rabiot in that position, he'd probably look for the pass rather than shoot. So it's just a matter of the guys you have on the ball in the situation. But if Ronaldo tries to make that pass and misses it, I'd be pretty pissed off we didn't at least take an attempt and ended up with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about a 1v1 opportunity in the box. We're not talking about, and I'm not downing him, but it just seems to be part of his game. Chiesa, he'll take that 2-on-1 and he'll try to split the defenders, and he'll lose possession. We're not talking about that. We're talking about 1v1.
Yeah.
Cristiano on the ball, take the shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you on that. So it didn't finish that, but we didn't have to wait much longer after that 59th minute, and Morata with just a beautiful finish. Pass in, McKennie ends up dummying it, and Morata just a beautiful hit, 2-0. And this guy, so many people were already counting him out and saying, like, this is just not a good signing out of the names we had. I personally liked it, though. Yeah, and you're one of them. I liked it because he was a younger option. He had history at Juve, and I liked the fact that we weren't committed. The option's in our hands, and it's a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
But holy shit, man! I tell you, if he can, we'll talk at season's end. But we had a live after one of these questions come up and says, how do you think Morata's going to finish? And I'll never forget this because Antonio from Scotland says he's going to finish 20-plus goals. And I'm just like, I don't see it. I see him being more of a setup guy and, like, creating space for the others, whatnot. But holy shit, man, he might do it and then some.
Yeah, imagine all the goals that wouldn't have been ruled offside.
Yeah.
I wasn't against him. He just wasn't my first choice. I was all in on another guy that I thought would have been worth the money. Cavani, I had a soft spot for him. I thought he would have been great for what we wanted to do. But I don't remember the last time we've been able to find a player, put the player in our system, and him have as much of an impact. Maybe Paulo's first year, I don't know. And just it's been seamless.
Yeah.
You removed Pepita, you put in Alvaro Morata, and it's like not only was the transition seamless, it's been better.
Yeah. And to hear him talk, and say, like, I have everything I need at Juve, and how happy is, like, I mean, it's set up for success, but he's been our best so far. And granted, CR's been out of the lineup for a while because of COVID and whatnot, but Morata has been, like, miles ahead of everyone else, in my opinion. Like, he's just constant. He had that one poor showing, but it was a really bad match in general against Roma. That's the only time he looked bad. But again, the team and our play looked terrible that match.
Yeah.
So I don't put much on the individuals in that one. So yeah, Morata's just been unbelievable.
And I know that we kind of have to, we got to keep moving here. But one thing I do also want to make note of is that not only has he been great in our attacking phase and moving forward and being an outlet and striking the ball, but he's also been a very, very good number 9. Like, his hold-up play, he can be a target man, but he also has the speed and the pace to be out in front and score the goal. And that type of combination can be very dangerous.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. He's kind of complete, and exactly what we're looking for. And there was a lot of mixed reviews with him joining, but a lot of people were just thinking that it was the nostalgia, right, of bringing back a guy that had some Juve experience. But man, he is definitely proven the doubters wrong. I just hope it can keep up. But the finishing too, like, even on the goals that he's getting disallowed, like, his finishing right now is just top notch. Fantastic. And this was his 100th appearance for Juve, I think, actually. It wasn't career-wise. It's definitely got to be Juve related. But that was awesome. And it's 7 minutes after he scores, Dybala actually comes on for him. And that's exactly what I thought would happen if we got a good enough lead. Let's get Paulo some more minutes. The guy needs it. We know he's unfit. We know he's not himself. The reasons are endless under speculation, but we needed to get him more minutes. There's no doubt to me this is how he's going to have to earn his way back in. And Morata's red hot. CR is CR. He ain't going anywhere. Dybala's going to have to try and make his way into this lineup. And that's the way it is. So he comes in, and it looks pretty positive from the start. And it looked like he had a little bit of confidence because in the 71st minute, he tries for one of his classic little chippers from outside of the box there. Got a little wrong. But then 70 seconds later, and Ferencvaros makes an absolute mess at the back, and Dybala puts it home. And sometimes that's all a player needs is one of these lucky breaks and just put one, bulge the onion bag and fucking move on, right? And just get it. He didn't really celebrate. You know how it came, went out, but it's got to feel good one way or another. Hopefully pick him up. We'll see. 75th minute, Bernadeschi comes in for Chiesa. Frabotta comes in for Cuadrado. I thought Cuadrado actually had a fairly decent game. I saw no issues. Defensively, I think it was more systematic. We talked about that. Cuadrado was good. Chiesa, what's your thoughts so far from Chiesa? Like, I like the player. I think he had a couple matches when he jumped in the lineup there where he looked guns blazing, and it was going to be dangerous for us. But I don't know. Is it kind of trailed off? Do you see him trying to do a little too much at times? Like, I don't know. I think I love the effort. I love the fight. I'm not sold on the position. That's how I feel. I don't put a lot on him so much. I'm not sure about Chiesa as a left wing back or a right wing back for that matter. What are your thoughts?
I think in the beginning he was doing way too much. You know, he's trying to win too many battles, 1v1, 1v2. What I've noticed in the last few matches is that he's picking and choosing his runs, and he's got the pace that he's gonna outrun you. And I'm okay with that because at the very least he's winning us corners, he's getting us down in the final third, he's doing his job, and I think that's new to him. The next thing, the next best thing that I've seen him do, that I can't stress this enough, is that he will not stop on a play to get a free kick, to get a foul. I don't know how many times Rabiot has had his shirt tugged and he'll just slow down and stop and wait for the ref to grab the ball. I mean, and I forgot which game it was. And Chiesa just picked the ball up and kept running, and the play continued. Like, that's the mentality this team needs. And I think he's approaching the game with the right mentality. And he's the type of guy that you say go attack for 90 minutes. Him and McKennie will attack for 90 minutes. Yeah.
Like I say, I mean, I don't think any of some of the downsides we see out of him are actually him. Like, I actually really, really like what he brings as a player. 77th minute, fast break for Juve and Rabiot. Fast breaks and Juve. Just
4-on-1, and he chose the most wrong option. I don't know how.
Yeah, he literally tried to thread the needle where the only spot the defenders were. And he had an option to the right, an option to the left. He tried to slip it in behind this run when really that run was beautiful because it literally took the other defender and put him in behind the defender ahead of Rabiot. And it's like, man, pick either one of those sides and those guys are clear. And if I'm Pirlo, I'm absolutely losing my shit at stuff like that because if this is a bigger team, if this is a tougher opponent, and you can't get an opportunity, and it's funny, we talked about it earlier, if Ronaldo getting that shot, I'd rather have the opportunity. And oddly enough, when we were talking about like a guy like Rabiot, it's the one part of his game when he gets to that final third, he just doesn't quite have. And oddly enough, you could say that for our mids in general. I haven't seen McKennie up there too much, but he seems to be promising up in the higher range there. Arthur, again, we haven't seen him really do that because it's not really his game from the looks of it. Bentancur also struggles from time to time as he gets in that, and we just don't have that cutting edge in the final third out of the midfield. And that's the one characteristic I honestly just see it missing. Ramsey is that one guy that will give you that bit of vision and creativity down there, right? But again, Ramsey is just really hard to rely on. I'm hoping McKennie can help that, but that is extremely frustrating when we get 4-on-1s or 4-on-2s, odd man rushes, and a guy makes a great run to take 2 defenders, and we can't get a shot on goal, or just an attempt in general. Very, very disappointing. 81st minute, and Ferencvaros at it again. Another giveaway, this time by the keeper. Dybala pounces on it. And I saw again, same thing, vice versa. Why did Dybala not pass it to Ronaldo? Well, it ended up in goal. He's standing with literally just the keeper in front of him. And at the time that he gets the ball, Ronaldo's not actually even open or at the spot where he is. Like, it took him time to get there. And at that time, I think Dybala had already shot. Keeper gets a piece of it, bounces up. It ends up ending as an own goal, but whatever, it's still a positive for Dybala. No matter how they came, the biggest thing is he was staying forward.
Yeah.
He was staying there to actually get those opportunities, help in the press, and just stay there positionally. And because if you're not there, stuff like this won't happen. So at least the press between the 2 forwards and the ball staying up was working. I hope that was instructed and not just him deciding to. Like, I really hope Pirlo's going to lock that in. And then we get to the 82nd, like almost in like right after that, but a horrible back pass from Chiellini. That I just like, it's stuff like that where you just think, guys, why? Like, bad habits, you're playing bad teams, whatever, but just be clean. Like, clean it up. It's just brain dead stuff like that, right? And then again, 4-1 and just loose coverage. Ferencvaros finds a goal, and again, what we talked about in the first half, that gap between the defenders and the mids. And this one again, everyone was caught watching. The guy took a shot. Whether Tech could have parried it away or not, it's concerning that there's that much space in our area. He gets a shot, easily walks in for the rebound, puts it home. And it's just pissing me off because that's got to be a clean sheet and all this. But, man, it just plants those seeds of doubt in the defense when this constantly happens. I just don't understand why there's no correction. But other than that, I mean, this game was in control. Ferencvaros was bad. The pitch was a soaking disaster. But, yeah, we got the controlled victory. There's still some bad habits. But overall, we needed a win. We needed goals. We needed some confidence boost for certain guys. Dybala, hopefully the 2 goals pick it up. Time will tell. But, man, I continue to see positives, especially with McKennie. But I think the 3-man in the middle helps a lot too. And when they alternate who makes runs, like when it was Rabiot and McKennie and whatnot, and I think when we isolate it to Ramsey, it creates issues. I'm much happier with 3 main midfielders, Bentancur, Arthur, Rabiot, McKennie, like those guys. Even if you want to put Ramsey in there, just don't isolate Ramsey as being that guy that is the only one that pushes up. Other than that, man, happy with it. Let's take it and move on. And we got Lazio up next. But your thoughts post-match?
The same. I actually thought that everybody who was on the pitch showed some pretty positive stuff, some pretty positive showings. I don't really want to get into this conversation, but once the green team scored, a lot of people, once again, they jumped straight to Bernardeschi, and I'm just like, and I was dumbfounded by it because I was like, do you understand the series of events that happened, that before they scored? And he got on the ball, he got on a header, I thought almost just perception-wise, I thought was going to go into, top corner, but it ended up going. He almost got to the end of another one. The pass was behind him. I thought he came in there, made a pretty good cameo. For both that came in there, made, kind of sturdied some things. I thought everybody that came in on the pitch for that match just played decent. So I left the match feeling confident. Then I logged on Twitter, got angry, and had to log off Twitter, which kind of made me feel a little bit differently. But in terms of confidence, I thought the last two matches was fantastic in terms of, okay, we're playing better. The goals are coming. We're not conceding as much. Sure, it was a mishap in the back. But once again, me and you talked about that. When our transition from 3 to 2, you have all this open space between our two center backs, and it just seems like there's not enough time for them to, collapse on that player. So that's just something that we need to clean up. Other than that, I thought we played great.
Yeah. And, you bring up Bernardeschi, and I was tagged in a post. I saw it, and it was a picture of him just standing there when they had the second goal. But again, I play the midfield. And if I'm looking back and I see there's no need for him to run back on that. But I get people see the standstill photo and the guy's coming in. But we have to be serious here. And we have to be logical in the sense that, people can attack him for giving the ball. They can attack him for the giveaway. I've been critical of him as of late, but I just don't understand. I see a player with some obvious confidence issues. He's had to try and battle his way into the lineup for a long time. He spent quite a long time being out of position with the team. But when I look at that play, again, as a midfielder, I see us having enough numbers at the back that shouldn't be an issue. And if we all of a sudden want our midfielders to go all the way that far back, we are going to have a hell of a time then turning defense into offense. Yeah. Our defenders need to pick up their men. Danilo, who's been great this season, was asleep at the wheel on that one. Bonucci was asleep at the wheel multiple times in this one. And, I cannot fault a midfielder on that one. We had a previous goal that was scored that I saw 3 defenders around this player with the ball. 3 defenders. And then Arthur was coming. He didn't pick up his man, but at the same time, we had 3 defenders in and around the guy with the ball watching him. That is a huge issue. Right. Massive issue. To put this now on midfielders, I can't do it. You've got 3 center backs. There shouldn't be a defender that's not on a man. There just shouldn't be.
And that still photo that you're talking about, obviously I've seen it because it's, all over Twitter at least. And you're right, though. It's it's not even a matter of the player in motion to score. I mean, the still photo is the player's already shot the ball, and Bernardeschi's standing at the edge of the penalty area. At that point, what is he supposed to – you want to see effort? Well, he gives you effort, but then you criticize him for his lack of quality. So it's that the poor kid can't win for fucking losing, and that's why I get so upset because he gets criticized no matter what. And then, just correct me if I'm wrong here, they were already in the final third. They lost possession. Ball ended up at his feet. Didn't really know what to do with it. He kind of lost possession, but either Danilo or Chiellini regained possession, tried to clear it. It was a poor clearing. They regained possession, and then they scored. So I'm thinking all of this happened. How is this still on him? I don't know.
No, he is honestly, I've been attacked lately for being biased on players. And honestly, I feel I do a hell of a job just calling it as it is. Bernardeschi, I've been on for a while. Just because it's been so long. It's just been so long, but I see confidence issues. I mean, we know what's good about Bernardeschi with the energy, the work rate, and all that. We also see where his struggles have been, and the tough thing is that man, he gave us a really, really good positive outlook after the first season. And we were just always waiting for that breakout, waiting for the breakout, waiting for the breakout. The tough thing is somewhere along the lines, like somewhere along the way, he's showing that there's doubt in himself, and it's you can read it, you can see it, you can see it all over Paulo Dybala as of late. Like this guy is not the same guy that was last season. You can read it all over his face, his body language. Bernardeschi is almost there, where you could see like this guy he's got some doubts in himself. The confidence isn't where it needs to be, and honestly, it's human nature for many, not all, to play the blame game. And unfortunately, he's usually on the end of it. But you touched on like the sequence of events. To put it on him on that one is a little harsh, in my personal opinion. But yeah, it's human nature, and not lately, but it feels like everybody expects that every single player needs to be a superstar, and is starting to fall away from roles that they need to carry, perform to, and whatnot. I have this argument with Dybala because Dybala's measuring stick, for whatever fucking reason, is Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm just like. Need to be Cristiano. I would go, you will be dying very, very sad if you're just expecting every player to be fucking Cristiano Ronaldo. It's never going to happen. We all need to face the facts that we have been able to witness Messi and Ronaldo during the same era, which is wild, absolutely wild. But these measuring sticks, I said, what's wrong with Paulo being Paulo? And it's the same thing across the line with any player. Just they have their roles. They are who they are. We wanted Bernardeschi. We had such high hopes for him. He hasn't hit them, and somewhere along the way, he's just kind of, you can tell he's lost, whether it's because he knows he can do better or whatever the case is. But there's got to be something if now the rumors are coming out that he's actually, open now to leaving Juventus. And honestly, in my personal opinion, it would probably be better for him, and I think we would see a different Bernardeschi.
I agree, and I think what's going to hurt me, because I've been defending him for so long, is that he's going to go somewhere. Whatever he's carrying on him, the guilt, the stress, the weight of pressure, it's not going to be there. And I think you're going to see a change, and then he's going to just start playing well. And then all of a sudden you're going to see all these people go, well, where was that Bernardeschi when he was with Juventus? He's been there the whole time. The problem is we just never gave him an opportunity to really, I don't want to say give him an opportunity. He's had the opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we've given him opportunities.
Right. There's just something about, I don't know, the moment he puts the stripes on, I don't know if it's like, I have to overperform, and that's what causes
it could be the pressure of the price tag. It could be that simple, right? Like with that price tag for Juve, there comes the added pressure and the weight of the expectations, and maybe that's all it was. It
could be. And like I said, I didn't want to turn this segment into it. I just felt like in terms of this match, the pros and the cons, that was one of the cons that I saw from a lot of fans, was that, oh, here we go, Bernardeschi again, they're going to score. And, and I was just like, I didn't see it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. I will give you credit. You have just stuck with this kid, man. But
I'll do it for anybody who gets treated that. Like, I'll do it for Paulo. I also think that Paulo's on the other end of the spectrum that Bernardeschi is. He gets the blame. Paulo will immediately get benefit of the doubt because he's so well liked, and I'm not with that. If you play bad, you kind of have to earn it. But Bentancur's been playing bad, and he's been getting some pretty bad comments on him, and it's just like no player that plays for Juventus apparently can ever have a day off. They can never have a poor game. They can never have a bad match, and it's like this is just so unrealistic.
Well, I said Paulo's going through a slump. It's not the first time. It ain't gonna be the last. And all athletes go through it. It's something that happens, even to the absolute best, and even to the GOATs. I mean, it happens. with this talk on Bentancur, so we know we got Ramsey injured. Nothing serious, okay, but he is going to be out for a bit. Now, I guess I just want to ask you, Bentancur, yeah, he's taking a lot of heat. There's a lot of people saying he's just bang average. That's it. That's all he is. And I want to get your take on now, if with this Ramsey injury, could it be a bit of a blessing in disguise that we can now see three actually playing flat and working those roles a bit better, in that sense? Or is Pirlo going to do something to try and minimize how many he's using to preserve guys? What do you think this injury, how it's going to reflect us on the pitch?
I think he's going to go like for like. I think you're going to see McKennie get a lot more playing time, and I think you'll see, if he still wants to go the 3-4-1-2, you'll see Kulu in the hole, so Kulu in the 10, at the 10. So he would take over from Ramsey is there. And then if you're talking about from a midfield position, I think you go like for like. And since McKennie is the closest in terms of what he provides offensively, that would be his substitute. So I don't know if Bentancur would be the guy that I would focus on. I think with Ramsey injured, you look at Kulu and then you look at McKennie.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it for a while. I think Kulusevski, I think he could play one of those roles, man. I think it would help him because he looks his best to me when he's looking ahead and running at these teams. He just seems to struggle when guys are in tight on him and he's got his back to goal. Let's take him out of that situation. But I want to see it. And that's another reason it could be a blessing in disguise. McKennie, absolutely. I think this guy, he needs more time. I think he's going to get it, man. He's just, the energy with this guy. And he's got a bit of everything to his game. He can go in there. He can do the dirty work. He can get involved in the final third. And he's got a decent passing range to make stuff happen. And he's good in the air. We haven't quite seen it yet, but it's one of the highest traits that he's touted for is his aerial ability. We only saw it on one goal, the one Bonucci tapped home, but he was up there in the air battling for it. And he causes havoc there. So, it'll be interesting in the middle. Pirlo's got some options. So it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening there. Sandro and De Ligt are set to return after this next international break. And I want to talk to you about what you expect out of the lineup once these guys are back. How do you line us up? Do you think there's going to be time before we see them fully get back to roles? Do you think De Ligt has to slot in right away? I mean, sometimes people are a little unrealistic, the fans, and they just want to hammer them all out, and they're like, De Ligt, Demirel, Killeen, it's just let's pump the brakes, let's take a look. These guys are going to need some time, but Sandro has been talked about possibly being another option as one of these three CBs. It's interesting, man, and I think Pirlo, with these wing backs, he's trying to optimize how many offensive players he can get at the same time while still maintaining defensive coverage. So it's going to be really interesting. And Sandro, the big question mark with him is the last time when he was truly bossing the game for us, it was in a 3-5-2 setup, and that's where some of the Sandro fans have argued is that, man, he's got to be out there on that left wing back because that's when he was crushing for us. So I just want to see what your thoughts are as these guys come back and say everybody's healthy, what you would expect, what you would do.
So I think we also need to take into account that was 4 years ago. So Sandro now, not the same Sandro from 4 years ago. And quite frankly, you're starting to see that with Cuadrado's game. One of his best characteristics in the position that he's playing was his speed. You're starting to see a lot of players match his speed, if not more. So you're starting to see one of his key characteristics not be so beneficial to him. So, once again, Sandro's 4 years older than he was when he played in that role. You have to think of what that's done to his body. So my professional opinion, as a performance coach and my knowledge in that field, my concern with De Ligt is I need to see him take a fall. I need to see him go to the ground, see how he handles that shoulder, because it just seemed way too easy when it happened the first time. I'm a little concerned even if they said that he's ready to go physically, if his body hasn't had that type of stimulus, if he hasn't had to kind of adjust to it, we really don't know how far along he is. In terms of them two playing, I like Chiesa at left wing back. Because my fear is that he's going to do the things that Alexandro won't do. And in this particular formation, Chiesa's got to go from one end of the pitch to the other. And it just seems that if Sandro continues what he was doing prior, he's going to play himself out of position. So I would almost put him at left center back, Sandro. I would put Bonucci at center back, and I would put De Ligt at right center back, and keep your wing backs as they are right now. Cuadrado on the right, Chiesa on the left.
Wow. So everyone healthy, you would have Sandro, Bonucci, and De Ligt at the back.
And another thing that having Sandro at left center back would do is it obviously adds pace to defend for the counter. So, I mean, if you wanna have him advance a little bit more, you can still have De Ligt and Bonucci back there as you normally would in a back four. So having Sandro there to me adds a little bit of a offensive element to it while giving you speed at the back in case of any type of counters.
Yeah, I gotta say that is the first time that combination has come out. We see a ton of shouts for Meri Demiral. I love Meri Demiral. He is not polished enough, and there's a little bit too much of a risk factor still. I think I'm fine with Demiral in some matches against some more comfortable teams to kind of polish things up and clean. I think he'll get there.
Yeah.
But he's just not there yet. And we saw a pretty stupid, rash challenge for no reason that got himself sent off. And then the frustration comes after. You could read it all over him. But he's got to have that presence of mind at the time. And he's got to know better. And he's got to get there. But I think he will get there. I'm very, very excited by Meri Demiral. He's a tough guy not to like with his attitude, his demeanor, what he brings. We need a guy like that, but we also need the control.
He has to be able to control that aggression that he plays with, which you can't help but praise. But that's the risk you take is him kind of aimlessly running around, taking chances, getting penalties or getting fouls. Is it worth putting him in as starting 11 and then possibly having to sub him out or lose a player for it? I just don't know.
And the other thing is, too, in the setup, he just doesn't look as comfortable. Doesn't look as comfortable as when we have the set four all the time. He's got one center back pair. Like, there's something off there. We can obviously tell he's not comfortable with the ball at his feet that much, which now, in Pirlo's system, everybody on the pitch has to be comfortable, even Tech and even Buffon. It's required at every single position. And it's the one area Meri Demiral is going to really have to dial in on as well, because we've seen that struggle. Tech has to as well. We've seen Tech just cough up some that could easily come right back down our throats.
Tech's lack of urgency, I think, with this new role is what's killing him, is that he's still playing at kind of a leisure pace, and I don't think he truly understands that, like, no, you have to start the attack, so things have to go now.
Yeah.
But in terms of just Sandro out left center back, if you're watching Danilo play right now and you're seeing the progression of him, he's on the ball a lot. He's still involved in the offensive phase. To me, Sandro could do exactly what Danilo's playing. He's going to offer you a little bit more offensively, and I think he still has the pace to get back.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what Pirlo ends up doing. And right now, it's just man, it's a little crazy following Juve. You just don't know what you're going to see, what you're going to get. Lineups always a question. Formations are always a question. Pirlo seems to be very set on this particular setup and just working that transition. Right or wrong, don't really know. Does it have to do more with personnel and not so much the system when we see the failures? That can also be argued as well. And maybe it's just finding the right mix of guys for plan A, right? But yeah, I'm not really sure, but it's kind of interesting. But let's try and take a look at comparing Pirlo so far at this point compared to Sarri and just see if you see any similarities and just yeah, just speak to it, man. Like, what do you see that you don't like? What do you see that you like? And how do you compare the two? Do you think Pirlo's just getting more patience from everyone because of the lack of experience, and Sorry didn't get any of it because we just placed those expectations on him because of what he accomplished with Napoli? Kind of felt that way. Like it was just an expectation that we were going to be playing beautiful football. And he came out of the gate with some great wins, and like the team actually was flying. But then it was like we were suspect on goals allowed, and you saw the team just like, whoa, did a big like 360, and then we looked broken in the final third in transition, and we were like really slow and just focus on this position. That's the one similarity I see between the two, is that Pirlo has done a bit of a shift that contradicts kind of what he was going for in terms of how we play off the ball and defensively, and that attitude, that aggression just completely shut down because it looked like he was so fearful of counters and how much we were going to allow. And it seemed like it was immediately after the Roma match. But let's get your take, your thoughts here.
Well, first and foremost, I think you have to take into account the health of the squad at this point and what Pirlo's had to do with the personnel, especially losing Cristiano. I mean, does Sarri win the games that he does without Cristiano? I don't know. But so the commonalities to me are that the team started out of the gate on fire, and then just out of nowhere they started to struggle. They kind of looked like they just stopped doing what it was that was working. But to me, the biggest difference is that with Pirlo, I see a team that still has a direction and still trying to go in that direction. They understand what they want to do, what they're trying to do. It's a matter of implementing that on the pitch. I think Pirlo's facing some of the similar issues that not only Sarri mentioned, but Max Allegri mentioned as well, is player attitudes, getting the players to do what you need them to do on the pitch. So to me, even though it seems very subtle, I think they're very great differences in terms of just the team. The issue I think that Sarri had, and the reason that I think that Pirlo's getting more of the benefit of the doubt, or being more patient with them, is that I think he has backing from the team. I think the player relationships is much more in favor of him. I think that's being expressed to the higher ups, and they can see that. So to me, it seems like this team really wants to move in the direction that he wants them to move in. It's just learning how, implementing it, learning it, tweaking it, figuring out what works. Not to mention, I don't think within how many matches has he played? 8? I don't think he's used the same lineup at all for like all 8 matches. And Sarri had his set 11. I mean, that was pretty much a given. The only difference was that number 10 role. So in the beginning, it was Bernardeschi, then it was Ramsey, and then he tried to use Paulo there. So, yeah, the similarities are they played great, then they struggled. And Pirlo seems to be a little bit more unmoved in his adaptations to the formation, kind of like Sarri was. But to me, the main difference is that I think Pirlo's squad has a direction that they're trying to move in.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. It's just it's funny because you see both ends of the spectrum there as far as the judgment goes. And you had Sari, who was working, and everybody was like, man, why doesn't he try this? Why doesn't he try that? And then you have Pirlo, who's been a bit on the opposite, who's really tinkered a lot and shifted guys around. And, he didn't have the benefit of any preseason. Sari had a pretty short lead up to his tenure as well. But yeah, I mean, it's all relative. It's really, really hard to find that. But yeah, I don't know. Pirlo, I feel like for how much he spoke about putting a formation to the players you have, the personnel you have, I think there could be an argument made that maybe we aren't in the best setup for the guys we have. How do you feel about that? Like, if we looked at that comment by Pirlo saying, he doesn't have a set formation, which it kind of looks like he does, but do you think this setup that we're doing is best suited to our guys?
I don't know. I don't know if maybe a 3-4-3. I'll say this. I think when we have played our best, it has been when we utilized a third midfielder. So I don't know if that means you put 4 at the back and you go 4 and you do a 4-3-3 if you want to run a false 9, if you want to run a holding, if you just want to run a 4-3-3 flat. I don't know. The 3-5-2. I personally think the 3-5-2 is outdated, which is why I don't think you see a lot of teams use it. But if you have quality players running those positions, then obviously I'm sure you can make it work tactically. That would be my take. So I don't know if we are in the best position possible as far as formation goes, because to me personally, I think having 3 midfielders on the pitch has proven to be a superior formation than the rest.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. I mean, after we saw that with the 3 midfielders in that, it would have been our last match that we had the 3 in there, and it was night and day. Like, it felt to be good and clicking well, and yeah, I can't understand how in a 3-5-2, 3-4-1-2, whatever you want to call it, I just can't understand for the life of me how we give up so much space defensively. That part I cannot grasp. I don't know if it's a safety net created mentally for these players, knowing that there's 3, you know what I mean? Like 3 center backs. I cannot figure out why we are a lot more loose at the back, given that you have an extra guy, and given the guys they are. Like, these guys are like Chiellini, but Bonucci has been on a hell of a downward spiral defensively. It's shocking, man. And like, that's why I kind of say, like, when you had your lineups there or whatnot, I'm being honest, I don't know if he makes it in for me when everybody's fit. I honestly don't think he makes it in.
I think he has to, because of his ball skills.
I get that, and I know that that's the main argument, but at the same time, it's like I don't feel like there's that much of that game that we're getting that it's like a need. And when you look at this team, and I look at this particular match, the biggest thing that hits me is that defensive struggle. And if I had to pick between those traits, I think I'd take De Ligt's ball movement, because he's not bad on the ball by any means. He's not going to pick out those long balls like Bonucci, but also, how many of those do we do and rely on that? Like, that's almost like an added luxury. You know what I mean? If you have a D-man that could do that, it's huge. It's a luxury, but it's not our make or break. And if I see the team continuing to struggle so much defensively, and like giving these guys space and abilities to turn around, and a guy that's getting chewed up 1v1 when he has to make those plays, man, I'd bank every time on putting De Ligt there. And Danilo's been actually, it's shocking, because everybody laughed when the rumor was out that he was being tried at a center back position. Been great. No complaints there. He among with Morata, have been one of those steadies the whole way through. And then I think if Chiellini's fit, he still has his spot on that. We know we can't rely on him heavily, but man, I think do or die. I like do or die match like tomorrow, and everybody was fit. Those would be my three. I just did Bonucci for me. It's got to pick it up. I don't know why it's dropped off so much. You'd think in a 3-back system he would be better because he was. That was when he was his best.
Yeah.
And
it's tough. I would say that too. If you want kind of like a no nonsense back line, I think that's more than doable. I think you could put Danilo, De Ligt in the middle, and then Sandro. Or if you wanted to do Demiral, De Ligt, and then Chiellini, you could have a complete no nonsense back line, and your defenders do exactly that. But then to me, that's where the 3-1-4-2 comes into play, and you have that Regista. And that would be Artur, which is why I think that he played great in front of the defense, and he can be kind of the guy that distributes the ball. So to me, if you sacrifice Bonucci, which we talked about it's not really a sacrifice defensively, then who takes his ball playing skills? And to me, that would be Artur.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that one. I think, and again, we talked about it earlier. It might just be something that Pirlo's got to work as a personnel thing and have multiple setups, right? Now we get into the final one, which is the showdown with Lazio next. Lazio's got a lot of question marks as far as lineup's going to be concerned. A very, very long list. We don't know who's going to end up making it, how it's going to pan out. But, I mean, you're talking Radu, Leva, Immobile, Lulic, Strakosha, and Lazzari. It's quite intense. And I don't – man, Lazio's –
Did Luis Alberto come back from – I thought he was out too. Did he come back?
Who's that?
Luis Alberto.
He's back.
Okay.
Yeah, so Luis Alberto's back. So they've got a long list. They're sitting 10th in the table right now, 3 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. And then, of course, Juve's 3 wins, 3 draws. But this is a tough one. Lazio had our number last season, but again, this lineup will be night and day of a match, depending of who goes in there. Lazio, it's the one knock they've kind of had even last season was if they don't have their main guys out there, they're night and day of the team you're going to face. They just don't have that, the depth's not there. So that's going to really be telling. So it's really hard to kind of look too far ahead into this one because a lot of these guys we're probably going to find out the day before what it's going to look like. But say they had all their guys, they're good to go, whatnot. Even then, these guys haven't played for a bit. There might be some rust there. And Lazio's been just recently looking decent because at the start they were shocking. But they picked up a good win in champs against Borussia Dortmund, and they've got a couple of wins now in a row in Serie A coming on. But the lineup's going to be telling. But if both teams say they're full go, what do you expect lineup-wise out of Juve, and how do you think the game would go?
Well, that's tough because, once again, I don't know what formation he wants to run. I think he's pretty stuck on this 3-4-1-2. I'd prefer the 3-5-2, which is what they're going to run, I believe anyway. I'd like the same lineup in terms of formation, in terms of the back line. But for me, I think I need players like Bentancur and Rabiot. I think players like Bentancur and Rabiot against this team will shine because we need someone who's gonna put their body on you. They're gonna touch you. They're gonna hit you. You're not gonna like it, but they're gonna be rough with you, off the ball, on the ball, and we need that type of aggression because that's how they play against us. I think you can put a midfield, Bentancur, Rabiot, and McKinney in there.
Yeah.
And then you have some great subs with Kulishevsky, Dybala. If it's so hard to come up with a lineup in the 3-4-1-2 because if you run a 3-5-2, Dybala won't thrive. He just won't because he's not a forward. He's proving to be a very God, I hate to say this, but he's proven to be like a one-trick pony where he thrives as a supporting striker. Otherwise, he just gets lost in space everywhere else. So, I mean, substitutes are going to be a little bit of an issue in terms of what formation you run. But at least my midfield, I think I would have a McKennie, a Rabiot, and a Bentancur.
Yeah. I think you kind of, Dybala, like, if we're going to play with the two forwards and he's going to occupy one of those roles, he does lose out in his best asset, because when he gets that free roam kind of thing is when he's at his best. But you can't do that if you're going to run two forwards because you don't have anybody that could play off of that other guy.
McKennie has been that to me 2 matches ago. Maybe Spezia. What I often saw was that when Dybala would come back to get the ball, that's when McKennie was making it. But to me, that is not worth the trade-off because if something happens and we lose possession, Paulo does fuck all on defense. So
and that's what you saw happen. It was creating issues there defensively. It's going to be interesting to see if Pirlo actually does go with Kulusevski in the hole on this one to start. I personally, the way Lazio lines up and the way they flood the middle, I would definitely have those 3 guys in there. Or Bentancur and McKennie. I think McKennie has to be in this one just for his energy and his presence in there. I think with how many people Lazio get in the middle, I think McKennie has to get in there. Rabiot, he's a lock for me. I think that other position becomes how you want to play it out, what you want to do, if you want Arthur in there or Bentancur. But at this point, for teams that flood the middle like that, Arthur's possession skills would be pretty big. But then it's just working out the details on how we're going to attack evenly, balancedly, where that transition to defense doesn't hurt us. Especially if Pirlo wants to do it the same way of using one guy and occupying the same wing defensively. Lazio's going to kill us with their wing backs because there's going to be space there that they could probably take advantage of. So he's got some decisions to make. But yeah, I did see that when Dybala would drop, McKennie would go forward. But the trade-off, you're absolutely right. Defensively, that's not a long-term success strategy. And it can't be that way. And yeah, you're right. Like Dybala, this 2 forward thing is it's tough if he doesn't stay forward. That's why I'm just saying, like, if Pirlo can get him to lock in there, it'd be better. But at the same time, you can kind of see the lack of that drive with one guy out of the middle that can kind of take that space.
Yeah.
Because we get really the same play out of a lot of our middles, which is lateral, right? And just kind of they will make some runs in there. We've seen Rabiot make some great advancing runs, not a whole lot, unfortunately, coming from the end of it, but we almost got to even it out and see more of that, right? Like when Ramsey's in the lineup, I just see it out of him. I need to see it balanced out of everybody, right? And keep those defenders on their toes as to who's going to come out there. That's the one thing when Ramsey's in the lineup that makes it too predictable almost.
Yeah. And
a little bit easier to defend. So it'll be interesting this one way or another. It's almost impossible to make a prediction right now because you have no idea who the hell is going to be out there. But one way or another, this is going to be a big one. Huge for Juve to get some points. I think a drop here, nothing critical, but it hurts. It for sure hurts. The rest of the month shapes up really good for Juve. This is a good month for us to get the momentum going, get the wheels rolling, and tally up some points. So we'll see what happens. I'll do a preview when it gets closer, and hopefully we get more clarity on the lineups. But Eric, man, thanks for joining me again. Always a pleasure. We'll take this win in the Champions League, and we'll see you again, everybody, after the match against Lazio with another post-match podcast. And thanks to everybody, especially all the newcomers who've been reaching out. I got a lot of first-timers that are going to be joining the podcast, and look forward to it. And as always, if you want to take part in the discussions, drop the Twitter handle there. Follow me there. And make sure you check out the merch from Striped Tarts Apparel. We just gave away, finally got a victory with more than 3 goals. So we gave away some shirts, and we're going to be having more giveaways throughout the season. So keep your eyes out for that. As always, till next time, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.